There we go. I was gonna go get some wood. Let's do this. Fucking apple. Yeet.
You wanna play ta later?
What did he say? Oh yeah, I'll be on GTA later, bro. Right after my class, it should only be like an hour or something. Starts at about 15 minutes. And then once we get on, we could do some Bogdan shit.
It's time to socially distance Nancy Pelosi from Congress. I'm Big Dan Rodak, former WWE pro wrestler running for Congress.
Who this nigga? Gee.
Why? Because I have a sense of humor. He's right. He's right that it'll trigger them and it'll be funny. And that's why the left has really lost me. They're not funny, they're not fun, they're not having a good time, and they're not offering me any solutions. They're mocking, belittling, laughing, and just
I am probably going to be at my sister's in like 30 minutes, so just text me later after your class.
Alright, bro, I hear you.
I can talk to Michael Knowles, and we probably disagree on a ton of things, but we're gonna laugh together. Isn't that what we want to strive to do? Laugh? Now the left will say it's because Tim Pool has privilege, blah blah blah. I don't even want to hear it, man. You're never gonna convince me that a mixed race high school dropout from the south side of Chicago who worked hard and fought every day to do better and be better is somehow, you know, they're gonna argue that I'm privileged and all that stuff. That's the argument. The only reason I could possibly laugh alongside someone like Michael Knowles or Glenn Beck or some of these conservatives is because I'm privileged. Let me tell you, man, during Occupy Wall Street, before I had any kind of recognition, they used to tell me that I was the perfect example of what was wrong with this country, that I had fallen through the cracks, that I should have a right to succeed in a livable wage and all that stuff, and that I was a good example of someone who was smart and talented but just couldn't make it, huh? I never thought that. I was like, well, I don't see it that way. I'm on an adventure, you know? But they were like, but shouldn't you be like running these companies and blah 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 and all that stuff? And I was 25. And then after I got recognized, they said Tim Pool is white and was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. That's what they started saying. That's literally what they started telling each other. Because the only way they could fathom that I succeeded was that I must be privileged. Not an argument. Nothing in that would convince me of anything, because all you're doing is insulting me. And all of the hard work, the blood, sweat, and tears I put into everything was not good enough, because you just turn around and say it's all about privilege. No, I'll tell you what it's about. I've gone through hardship, and I was saved by social programs, and that made me realize the importance of them. And then I go and I see conservatives doing their normal conservative thing, for which I disagree with a bit, but they're talking to me. And then I look at the Democrats and they're screaming more, more, more. It's not enough, more. And it's wild, uncontrollable temper tantrum, rage, hatred.
Some birch.
I don't have anything to do with it. I don't want to have anything to do with the people who are insulting Ruth Bader Ginsburg as she died. A lot of people are going to think it's funny. I'm not a fan. I'm not. And there have been some high-profile conservatives who have made some of these jokes, but for the most part, Donald Trump and almost every high-profile right-wing personality and conservative have been respectful. That's what I want. What do we get on the left? Mocking people on
Ema
their
go spank my monkey.
Man, we recently lost a very prominent black conservative.
I gotta check that. Hold
I'll
up.
keep it light and I'll wrap this up. And they mocked and insulted this guy, and he was awesome.
Oh, fuck, Michael.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed, with respect, she lived an amazing life, and I give her that respect where it's due. And when I see people on the right suffer similar, they grow old, they die, they get sick, they mock them. It's disgusting.
What's this guy trying to follow me? What a creepy bitch.
Maybe put a chain around it too.
Fuck. Shut up, Michael. Get out of here.
Get away from me. And we see that from the left, and we do do see it from many people on the right. I don't like any of that stuff. But keep it out of politics. And Donald Trump took the high road. I wish the higher profile leftists, the blue check marks on Twitter, would do the same.
Okay, I could keep that. Don't need that.
Have a laugh. Michael Knowles made a joke. It's
That cannot go there, because I might eat it by
And
accident.
block the Underground Railroad.
Next segment's coming up at 6 p.m. over at
bro.
youtube.com/TimCastNews.
Now you getting racist.
It is a different channel from this one. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you all then.
Business needs to keep moving, whether working together or apart. With Adobe Acrobat and Adobe Sign, working with both actually works, so that contracts get signed, loans get approved, and deals
history.
get done faster than ever before. From small businesses
About
to
what
global
happened.
companies, business
Wait, tell me.
Look at me, I don't stop till I drop, yeah, keep it going.
In about 5 minutes, the class should open up. I might just share this live stream online in the class, and I'll have my class watch it too.
It a wild monkey, the chain broke, now it's swinging on my fan.
Oh no.
Do it, do it.
What?
As you know, Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg died last Friday. She passed away of cancer. It was a sad moment because death is always sad, no matter who dies. Death is coming for all of us someday. For that reason, we ought to mark a person's passing with a bow of respect. Take a moment for humility and perspective. Meditate on the fragility of our own lives and the lives of those we love. Remember that death
Do
is the
stream
one
you
thing
class.
that unites every human being. No matter how powerful we imagine we
The
are,
fuck?
at some point, we will be gone. All of us. In our case, we almost never agreed with Justice Ginsburg's decisions, but on Friday night's show, we did our best to show
Owned.
some reverence. That's the right thing to do.
There we go.
The left, by contrast, made no attempt at all. Prominent
It's
progressives
Steve.
immediately descended into hysteria and rage, unbridled rage.
There's
They
emo.
told us that
There's
Ruth Bader
emotes
Ginsburg's
now.
death was more than sad. They said it was a national crisis that
The monkey
imperiled
is now
freedom.
spanking me.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg, they told us, single-handedly kept America from descending into fascism and tyranny. Now that she's gone, only her words can keep us safe. That's an odd claim if you think about it. This is supposed to be a democracy. No one ever voted for Ruth Bader Ginsburg. No matter how much you agreed with her, she was, in the end, a single judge in a country of 350 million people. She was not God.
Oh no,
Yet
it's
according
night.
to the left, Ginsburg was all we had. We must obey her dying words as if they were a religious text. Her
I
final
am
wish
go spank my real monkey now.
documents.
Oh no, Zombers. Come follow me, you hoes.
We should heed her final call to us, not as a personal service to her, but as a service to the country, our country, at a crossroads.
Honor her last words that she not be replaced until a new president is installed.
She said, "My most fervent wish is that I will not be replaced by until a new president is installed."
My money is snapped like a glow stick.
Believe that.
Oh my god.
Fervent wish is that the next president pick. That was the last thing she said to the public.
We know who this man is. We know who this man is. This is a man who does not care about a dying woman's final wish. Clearly.
So, turn down
Ah,
consider for a moment
you
the reasoning for the
fucking
argument that they're making. Nothing is more important than our Constitution.
follow me. Get over. Follow me.
That's why we must
Yeah.
substitute an 87-year-old woman's final wish for the constitutionally prescribed process for filling a Supreme Court seat. That's what they're arguing. Got that? Pretty amusing. Keep in mind, we don't really know actually what Ruth Bader Ginsburg's final words were. Did she really leave this world fretting about a presidential election? We don't believe that. For a second, if it were true, it would be pathetic. Because life is bigger than politics, even this year. We wouldn't wish final words that small on anyone. So we're going to, again, choose to believe that Ruth Bader Ginsburg didn't really say that. But in real life...
Ah, it hurts. I put my monkey in the garbage disposal. It looks like I scrambled my monkey.
But in practical terms, it's irrelevant what she said. Ruth Bader Ginsburg doesn't get to pick her replacement from her.
Oh no!
Not how it works.
Fight him off! Ah!
Remember, and that's the whole point of the Constitution. If Justice Scalia had said something like that, nobody would have cared.
Oh my god, it doesn't stop!
Thankfully, he didn't say that. On some level, Democrats know all this. All this talk about Ginsburg's dying wish is ridiculous.
Oh, you fucker, come on.
All of us and our country. And they'll stop soon. Democrats...
Ah! It's non-stop. Give me some light. That's useful right there. Hell yeah. Fucking iron. Holy shit. This opens back up over here. Huh.
Democrats have an alternative argument at the ready, and that's one they've been honing all year. It goes like this. Do what we want, or we will hurt you. That's the real argument they're making. Reza Aslan, a longtime CNN employee, wrote this in the hours after Ginsburg died. Quote, if they even try to replace RBG, we burn the entire effing thing down. That effing thing being our country that we built. On Friday night, another Democrat tweeted instructions for how to begin that process. Quote, we're now walking to Mitch McConnell's house to protest. More than 120,000 people liked that post, shockingly. The follow-up came a few minutes later. Quote, his house is entirely dark, significant police presence out front. It's not clear that he's here. It's clear that he's not here, as confirmed by a neighbor who is not fond of him. People are going home. That's not a protest. That's a threat. The point of it was to terrorize Mitch McConnell and his family. McConnell knew it was coming because that's how things seem to work now. The police guarding his house are probably the only reason it's still standing. Watch. Children, it's true of countries. And we're putting up with this, so we shouldn't be surprised. Who's doing it? Well, Trump voters are fascists, they tell us. But when was the last time Trump voters threatened Democratic politicians in their homes? It's hard to recall that happening. No. The tactics are always the same, and it's always the same people doing it. Then in case Mitch McConnell didn't get the message, Biden voters assemble at the home of Senator Lindsey Graham. Graham chairs the Senate Judiciary Committee. They wanted to honor Ruth Bader Ginsburg's dying wish by making sure that Graham was
the frick?
Watch.
What happened to all my oak? Oh, what happened to all of my oak?
These aren't spontaneous demonstrations. No, of course not. They're organized on social media, and they're happening for a reason. The Democratic Party has encouraged this extremism over and over and over again. Nightly we tell you about it, but it never ends. It gets worse. Last night, the Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer of New York held a press conference targeting Mitch McConnell by name. Hard to imagine that, but it happened. And Schumer invited Sandy Cortez, a first-term congresswoman from the Bronx. Here's what they said.
If you want to get back at Mitch McConnell's blatant, nasty hypocrisy, call your senator and tell them not to listen to Mitch McConnell, not to be afraid of Mitch McConnell.
And to Mitch McConnell, we need to tell him that he is playing with fire.
We need to tell him that he is playing with fire. Really? That's a threat. And on Instagram, Sandy Cortez, America's most pampered revolutionary, went ahead and suggested that Democrats go further, maybe even embrace violence. Watch.
Let this moment radicalize you. We need to focus on voting for Joe Biden. I don't care if you like him or not. This is not over. You know, we win in November. I'm sorry to tell you, you're not going back to brunch. We're not going back to brunch. That's not happening.
We're not going back to brunch. So now you know what a freshman member of Congress was doing standing at the podium with the most powerful Democrat in the Senate. Why would he choose Sandy Cortez? Well, because Sandy Cortez doesn't simply represent a congressional district. She doesn't do that very well. No, her real role is as commander of the youth wing of the Democratic Party, the direct action wing. The thugs who have spent the last 3.5 months burning and destroying, in some cases killing, on behalf, effectively, of the Joe Biden for President campaign. Cortez and her followers use these tactics for one simple reason. You know why? Because they work. This summer, a bar owner in Omaha called Jake Gardner was attacked during a BLM riot there. A man called James Spurlock jumped on Gardner's back and put him in a chokehold. Gardner shot Spurlock in order to save his own life. It was clearly self-defense, and that's what prosecutors concluded. But then Biden voters took direct action. They took to the streets. What does that mean exactly? Well, in this case, it means they gathered outside the home of Douglas County Attorney Don Klein, and they threatened him. Their presence was a threat. And guess what? It worked. Last week, Gardner was charged with manslaughter. This weekend, Gardner killed himself. See how that works? Do you want to live in a country like that? Megan Hunt does. Megan Hunt is a state senator from Omaha. She is glad Jake Gardner is dead. Megan Hunt congratulated the mob on Twitter for pushing Jake Gardner to suicide. Hunt encouraged them to do it to others. As Hunt wrote on Twitter, and we're quoting, Jake Gardner is gone, but the white supremacist attitudes that emboldened him are still with us today. End quote. In other words, you know what to do. This should terrify you. Democratic leaders have decided that everything is allowed in pursuit of power. Nothing is off limits. Give us what we want, or we will hurt you. In terms Nancy Pelosi can understand, that means maybe another impeachment.
Some have mentioned the possibility, if they try to push through a nominee in a lame duck session, that you and the House could move to impeach President Trump or Attorney General Barr as a way of stalling and preventing the Senate from acting on this nomination.
Well, we have our options. We have arrows in our quiver that I'm not about to discuss right now.
Oh, impeach the president for what? For following the Constitution's letter. For doing what the Constitution tells presidents to do when there's a Supreme Court vacancy. Could that really happen? What would the trial look like? We accuse you of following the law? Probably not going to happen. Pelosi knows that. That's why she's got other arrows in the quiver, as she said. One of those arrows is direct force. On Saturday, California Governor Gavin Newsom's chief of staff tweeted this, quote, I am ready to fly to D.C. in the middle of COVID-19 and lay my body on the floor of the United States Senate to prevent a vote from occurring before the next term of Congress. End quote. If she did that, many would join her, and maybe they'll do it. Maybe they'll come to Washington and physically prevent from voting. That's never happened before in the history of our country. It could happen now. People are calling for it. Does that seem like extremism to you? Yeah. But if it does, keep in mind, you're the extremist. You're the one who's willing to do anything for power, including use force. Here's Hillary Clinton neatly explaining that her sins are in fact your sins.
What's happening in our country is incredibly dangerous. Our institutions are being basically undermined by the lust for institutional gain in the case of Mitch McConnell.
Okay, so if you're following at home, just want to be clear on how this works. Democrats are so worried about your attempts to undermine our institutions that they, in the end, may have to burn those institutions down. Sorry, your extremism did it.
For decades and decades, conservatives have been disappointed by the Supreme Court's turn from being a fairly apolitical institution that calls balls and strikes and leaves most of the big policy decisions to elected officials to an activist body pressing liberal social goals on the rest of us. Now, reading Miranda rights into the Constitution, that was one thing. But in 1973, everything changed with Roe versus Wade. Justice Harry Blackmun and 6 others used the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment to strike down a state law prohibiting abortion, which then took the issue away from all 50 states. And nothing has been the same since. More than any other, that case set the precedent for the court to act as kind of a super legislature to impose a new social order on the American people. But when unelected life-tenured judges ended up taking power away from the people and exercising it themselves, that created a huge fissure in America. Our framers never envisioned that a handful of unaccountable jurists would have such outsized influence. But that's exactly what happened. Now, conservatives have been patiently waiting and patiently working to repair this damage to our constitutional system for as long as I've been alive. They've been trying. So they've marched, they've raised money, and we've all voted for candidates who promise to restore the separation of powers to its rightful place.
That the biggest nut I have ever busted.
We've come up
Not.
Too often justices nominated by Republicans end up evolving to the left. From William Brennan, an Eisenhower nominee, to Warren Burger, one of Nixon's picks, to David Souter of Bush 41 fame, and John Roberts, a Bush 43 appointee. In seminal cases, they abandoned the principle of judicial restraint and joined the activist liberals. Now, one of my earliest memories as a young Reagan administration staffer was watching the Robert Bork hearings. That was back in
It shouldn't hit my bathroom door.
All right, you can stop that, bro. That's disgusting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeet.
Justice warriors.
There are two kinds of justice. One, the kind of justice the judges should be concerned with.
Yes, if you want a proper house, you have to go 5 up.
The law fully and fairly.
2, 3, 4, 5.
Justice according to morality. And that is really not for judges.
1,
And that
2,
is for our
3, 4,
legislators, for ourselves.
5.
Enact our principles of morality into law. That should then respect and apply.
Well, Democrats savaged him because they didn't like the fact that he was a strict constructionist, while they were motivated solely by their desire to protect their holy grail of abortion. They rejected his nomination, and Anthony Kennedy went to the court instead. Justice Kennedy was a very nice man, but he then spent decades disappointing the voters who put Reagan in office. But conservatives soldiered on within the constitutional framework. And we were told that we had to get control of our own party and then win at the ballot box to effect change at the court. Well, that's what we did. And we did it with Trump's victory in 2016. And now that we have the chance to put a 5th judicial conservative on the court, I no longer count Roberts as one.
Some more came out and hit my eye.
To blow up the entire system.
Boy, you need to stop.
If they win the Senate, they'll pack the court by adding new justices, expanding it. Something, by the way, that hasn't been threatened and tried since 1937, when FDR tried and failed to mold the court in his favor.
Let this moment radicalize you. If Mitch McConnell
Now my eye is
not
pregnant.
going to honor
Oh,
RBG's
Jesus, bro.
final wish, we will.
The Democrats are saying, well, we'll just pack the court. What would the impact be?
Look, you've essentially cheated and stolen over 2 seats, the Scalia seat and now this one. And I think they'd be well within their rights to do so.
I think additional justices need to be placed on the Supreme Court.
Yo, in the span of like 35 minutes, I just got like 60, 70 kills.
Bro. You ripping people.
Emo-go. Bust another one.
Man, we need to tell Michael to stop being a faggot. What the fuck? He talking about busting one.
They have enormous power to move a nominee to a full Senate vote, period. They didn't get these powers by accident. It wasn't a mistake. They got them from the voters who gave President Trump over 300 electoral votes and who gave Republicans 53 senators in the Senate. That's how our system works. But now the left would have us ignore the entire constitutional system because of something the deceased justice supposedly said in her final days?
The last wishes when told the voters Biden will be the next president before pushing ahead to fill her seat. She said, "My most fervent wish is that I will not be replaced until a new president is installed." We believe that.
Brazenly defying the dying wishes of a woman who spent her life devoted to realizing the full promise of the Constitution.
The full promise of the Constitution is in the Constitution. Imagine if we took that attitude at any of the, 500 occasions when we lost a big case at the court, or when Bork's nomination went south, or maybe after they horribly mistreated Brett Kavanaugh. Imagine if we had reacted like they did. The Democrats would have been screaming bloody hell. Oh, and by the way, since they don't like the fact that the GOP has a 53-47 majority, they're also threatening to pack the Senate.
My dad walked in and I was balls deep in my goldfish, and now it is dead that the 1-0 this week.
Michael. Holy shit. He's like, he's in that in my comments because I'm live streaming right now, but he's like, I was balls deep in my goldfish, but then my dad walked in for like the 10th time this week. Fucking creeper. Fucking creeper. Fuck you. Drowned. Fuck you, bitch.
Now, remember what I said back in January of 2019 about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez? I think it's a mistake for conservatives not to take her seriously, to brush her off as kind of a flash in the pan or an upstart. She's as close to a thought leader that the Democratic Party has today. This entire unhinged response to the RBG replacement is being driven by the far left of the party, AOC +3 plus whoever else she's going to drag along with her. Biden was basically hiding most of the weekend. The man doesn't even know what to do. Surely the leader of the Senate Democrats isn't appearing with a freshman congresswoman on a matter that the House has zero authority over? Maybe we wouldn't do that, right, Chuck Schumer? Oh, yes, he would.
We must consider, again, all of the tools available to our disposal, and that all of these options should be entertained and on the table.
Schumer's embarrassing himself, but so is everyone else in the party. They're so obsessed with beating Trump and his voters that they're willing to destroy our entire system.
Fuck off, you pigs.
To do so, allowing the radical left to call all the shots.
Oh my god, bro.
And we predicted it here on The Angle. Poor Biden, he can't get control of these people. He's just an empty vessel to be filled with radical policies by radical politicians who hate our history, hate most of our traditions, and hate most of our people. He's too weak to control the young Bolsheviks. He doesn't have the sharpness to redirect their efforts. And now his entire party is going off the rails. The real choice in this election has nothing to do with Biden. It's a choice between President Trump and the hard left. And this confirmation battle will show us just how crazy.
So my class hasn't started yet.
Republicans are doing what they promised to do for decades, to put originalists and textualists on the court. We've never proposed packing.
You're watching my stream right now.
Those threats are only coming from one side. The Democrat Party is no longer the party.
Man, I'm just farming, bro.
Obama, for that matter. It's the abortion party. It's AOC's party.
Potato.
They're willing to destroy every
Yeah, but what do you think of my shit I got going, bro? What do you think of this? Because what's in the middle is going to be wheat.
One issue. Let that sink in for a moment. And that's the angle.
So the middle is right here, and I need... Let's get, dirt going. Up, up, up.
Supreme Court appointments. The media mob will not tell you this. Top Democrats want you to believe it would be improper for President Trump to nominate anyone to replace Justice Ginsburg during a presidential election year. That is a
Put this
complete
here.
total lie and fabrication.
Nope.
Here are the facts.
Delete,
We'll lay it out
delete,
just
delete,
straight
delete,
up.
delete.
News you could use that the media mob won't want you to see. Article 2, Section 2 of our Constitution is clear that the President shall appoint ambassadors, other public ministers, and judges of the Supreme Court and all other officers of the United States. The U.S. Senate's role is to advise and consent. In other words, their constitutional role, senators vote whether to confirm the President's nominee. There's no exception
That's lit up.
whatsoever in the Constitution for election years. And since our country's founding,
Balls deep in an animal? Bro, that's disgusting. For some people, that's like a dream come true, to be honest, though. Dead ass.
In an election year, well, 19 of those times when this party, the same party as the White House, controlled the House and Senate. In the case of the President and the Senate aligning,
Some people just think they're sexy, bro. I mean, I went on 4chan, I've got screenshots of people who are like, I just want to have a bird, a sentient bird of prey. You know, just to be its mate, you know.
So, simple facts, duly elected conservatives, they prefer
Let me go get some seed.
originalists or constitutionalists, and liberal democratic presidents.
Yeah, that might get me banned, bro.
Activists, things they'll never get done at the ballot box or legislatively.
What up with the rest of the seed? I guess I've only got 17 seed.
Opposing party during an election year before the election was in 1888. And that's when
Nobody really watches my videos. So yeah, I'm going with, what do you think of my base that I got going though? Like how big it is.
132 years ago. That didn't stop Democrats in 2016 from demanding that the Republican-controlled Senate, again, the other party, vote to confirm Judge Merrick Garland.
You have a pet monkey?
No, he doesn't. He's talking about his penis.
The President nominates, and then the Senate advises and consents or not.
Look at this zombie hiding inside of my basement.
Damn, bro. I got seriously 130 fucking kills and only 15 deaths.
Damn, bro, you need to stop. You need to take a chill pill, bro.
Why not? Oh, sounds important.
Be careful with Michael, bro. He does have lag on his side. He does have that good lag where it's like hard to hit.
It better be some incredible lag.
It's he's in one spot one moment, then poof, he's in another spot.
Senators, let us be clear, as the Constitution prescribes, the President will nominate, the Senate will advise and consent. The current hysteria surrounding precedent is laughable.
Damn, nigga.
Oh yeah, that'll fucking do it. For sure.
Democrats could have easily filibustered, well, a judicial appointment. In fact, under George W. Bush.
Yeah, he's not worth fighting, plus he's young.
They broke centuries of precedent. They're the ones that began filibustering judicial nominees with regularity. The Democrats did that.
He's a Fortnite baby.
Attorney, you might remember his name, Miguel Estrada, became the first ever Court of Appeals nominee to be successfully.
I played Fortnite twice, ever.
Harry Reid and Company, well, numerous judges were blocked by the Democrats using the filibuster, which had not been used prior to that. And guess what? In 2013, Obama's president.
Sometimes I just like to kill myself for fun.
Leader Harry Reid, he broke precedent once again. Not the Republicans, the Democrats.
he triggered the so-called nuclear option, which eliminated filibusters for judicial nominees. In other words, they would need cloture, they would need just a simple majority. The Democrats did this. Now, they did it in part so Harry Reid could load the all-important D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals with liberal nominees. They have stacked the court in the past. So now, as they are threatening to do so with the United States Supreme Court, which 43 days before the election believe they will do it with the Supreme Court. They mean what they say. And tonight, if Democrats are upset, they have nobody but themselves to blame. And make no mistake, they're very upset. As we speak, they're throwing...
That's what I thought, but it's like 5:20. No, my pickaxe.
Like this former fake news CNN host having vowed to burn the country to the ground. Jeffrey Toobin, so-called legal expert, probably one of the dumbest lawyers in the country, calling for...
Yo, Michael, if you set your shit up to where your voice can be heard through my stream, you'll be a part of my stream, bro.
When they go low, we kick them. And Democratic Senator Ed Markey calling for the Democrats to pack and stack the Supreme Court. Add as many liberal justices as they can. More Democrats are threatening to end the filibuster altogether, meaning now on legislation, which has never been done before. That's never happened.
Democrats are so mad right now. Like, holy shit. You can just go into your settings and allow, like, share. Look it up online. You have basically the summation of human knowledge in your fucking pocket, and you're like, how did I do that?
Schumer is now threatening and Pelosi threatening. Nothing they're saying is off the table.
I mean, coronavirus has this shit set up. I heard him echo.
And every precedent we've ever had.
Yeah, I heard you echo through Michael's phone in my stream.
We must also commit
Do I have it set up?
every
Yep.
procedural tool available to us to
Is that
ensure
sand?
that we buy ourselves the time
The
necessary.
fuck?
I do.
I could use some of that
Set
shiz
up.
right now. That's water now!
They are successful in placing...
I flooded my house now. Oh well, I need sand anyway.
I think that what Democrats have to do, assuming that Biden is president and there is a Senate majority for the Democrats, we need to think about court reform. And
Look into it.
as part of that
Set it up.
package, I think
Is that a drone? Fuck your ass, bitch.
I gotta remember, too, not one Democrat ever spoke out about Hillary's, deleted subpoenaed emails and...
Yeah, boy.
They never once complained about her dirty, even the New York Times finally called it Russian disinformation dossier that became the foundation of illegal warrants, premeditated fraud on a FISA court to spy on a presidential candidate, his transition team deep into the presidency of Donald Trump. They ignored all of that. And keep in mind, court packing is an unethical process that would increase the number of justices. Let's bring her from 9 to 13, thereby giving a sitting president an opportunity to control the court. It's a practice that is so controversial, so corrupt, they say they're honoring Justice Ginsburg. She was against it. Take a look.
9 seems to be a good number. It's been that way for a long time. I have heard that some people
I can't say that word on stream. Time to run, time to run.
I think that was a bad idea when President Franklin Delano Roosevelt tried to pack the court.
But today, the extreme far-left, socialist, radical Democratic Party clearly doesn't agree. In fact, you heard the, real Speaker of the House, Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, saying that Ginsburg's death should, quote,
I need an iron sword.
Democrats. Right on cue, there's Speaker in name only Nancy Pelosi seemingly threatening to impeach the president, impeach the Attorney General.
And what the best thing to do when it comes to sand is, oh man, I bet you that water goes all the way down there, is turn it into glass panes.
Trump or Attorney General Barr as a way of stalling and preventing the Senate from acting on this nomination?
Well, we have our options. We have arrows in our quiver that I'm not about to discuss right now.
To be clear, you're not taking any arrows out of your quiver. You're not ruling anything out.
Good morning. Sunday morning. We have a responsibility. We take an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States.
You inbred bastards. How dare you?
Anyway, Nancy Pelosi
Get my health up. You got a problem with Hawks, nigga? Damn. Yeah, get your set up so I can so you can hear yourself through my stream. Fuck you, skeleton. Fuck you, spider. I got an iron sword now, you piece of shit bitch, nigger.
It's actually a term. We call it borking, after what Senate Democrats did to Judge Robert Bork.
Fuck this spider. Dude.
Campaigns were conducted against Justice Clarence Thomas. We watched the repulsive statements and actions more recently with Justice Kavanaugh. No matter who the president nominates, no matter who's qualified, or how qualified, or how reputable he or she, apparently a she, will be, Democrats will wage a smear, slander, besmirchment campaign, the likes of which this country has never seen. What do they care? They've only dragged the country through the mud for 4 years. They'll claim abortion will be illegal. They'll play on racial issues, mark my words.
Well, this zombie's about to become a drowned.
Tonight on the radical socialist Democrats that want to be the next president of the United States of America. So last night, fake news CNN dedicated a whopping 7 long, miserable hours to one topic: climate change. It was essentially a marathon infomercial for the DNC, all things Democrat.
Oh, I needed a shovel. Damn, I'm retarded.
The ratings, frankly, sucked.
Here.
Marginally better from the usually
Mine in this way.
but a flop, a failure by any TV objective measure. Let's put it this way. Thanks to you, and we mean this with all our hearts and souls, thank you for giving us this TV set every night, joining us every night. We had well over 2 million
faggots.
More than their unusually, marginally higher number. We do thank you for your support. You make this show possible. We never
I found it.
over the fake news over there at CNN, hour after hour. The network provided 10 Democratic presidential candidates a platform to share their radical, and I mean radical.
Yep, how do you like my first base though, bro?
It's fire.
Like, just a pit in the ground. What's that there?
I'm currently gonna go get my monkey that is hanging and swinging around my fan. I'll be back.
Last night was not about clean air, water. It was all about government, complete, total control over our lives, your lives. The candidates on Fake News CNN, they made it perfectly clear they want to control what you eat. Maybe invest in cows if they ever get elected. How you commute to work, what kind of job you have, what kind of car you drive, how much energy you consume, and even what kind of... I happen to love plastic straws myself. I have a lot of them here. And whether or not you're allowed plastic straws. Even worse, one candidate, get this, proposing using abortion as a control of population in poor countries is pretty twisted, ugly, sick, and frankly repulsive. And of course, every Democrat heaping praise on the Green New Deal, which abolishes our free market system in exchange for false assurances to alleviate all of your worries in life. Just think keep your doctor, keep your plan, and save money. Didn't happen. Just think Solyndra, a waste of money. You get free higher education, you get free health care, free vacation, free green housing, free healthy food, universal basic income. You lose your right to private insurance, but who cares, right? Also, it calls for no more cows, no more air.
That was a lot of damage. I just killed like 4 people.
So did you figure it out?
Yes.
Alright, get your shit. Woo! I heard ya.
You're slow, I swear.
Alright. Oh, fuck.
The way you said that.
Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. I should probably start making armor.
Make,
fuck that
iron
shit.
Armor.
That's probably what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna jump to iron armor. Oh, fuck.
Or go to diamond, go to level 12, and miner.
Whew.
On the horribly wrong predictions, flawed science, politically motivated outrage about the future of this wonderful planet. You know, remember God told Job he set the foundations for the earth. The majesty of God's creation we can't even begin to fathom. Now, when we think about it, can we?
But yeah, it's 5:30 now. Still waiting for that class to start. Yeah, no, this shit.
Just hop on GTA.
I'm having fun right now on Minecraft.
But GTA is funner. We can go try hard on some kids.
Okay, I got that Skillington. Fuck you, bitch. Fuck you, let me get up.
Yo, so I need help in GTA. Like, actually, I'm about to die.
I'll get on.
I need help. I'm getting killed.
I really want to do some Bogdans. Is the sun really gonna start coming up now? What the fuck?
Civilization did not end. In fact, the exact opposite happened. Worldwide population boomed, life expectancy increased, the standard of living around the globe, especially here, improved.
Oh, there's a creeper inside the other.
Community, just like the so-called media and Democrats were making wild end-of-days predictions one after another. The AP 1989 report
No.
a senior UN environmental official says entire nations could be wiped off the face of the earth by the rising sea level.
No!
Oh, we're now on to global warming. Oh,
You fuck!
the global warming trend is not reversed by the year 2000. 2006.
You
fuck. Lunatic that he is, warning unless drastic measures to reduce greenhouse gases are taken within the next 10 years, the world will reach a point of no return. We're way past the 10-year mark. For decades, we saw one.
How could this happen to me?
That's big sad. I've seen it all happen.
The planet has a fever. If your baby has a fever, you go to the doctor. But this is what would happen to Manhattan. They can measure this precisely. Just as the scientists could predict precisely how much water would breach the levees in New Orleans. The area where the World Trade Center Memorial is to be located would be underwater.
Ice caps could melt, raising the level of the seas.
Possible, probable, we really don't know. But if it happens, it means goodbye Miami, goodbye Corpus Christi, goodbye Sacramento, goodbye Boston.
I really don't think I believe in climate change anymore. It's become too political.
Citing the warning given to Noah in the Old Testament. Noah knew trouble was coming, he said, and he prepared for it.
Yeah, the media mob back then. Now, you saw some footage from Al Gore's An Inconvenient Truth, 2007. It was actually a British...
Why do you say climate change became way too political?
Because I'm listening to it on the news, and it's becoming a thing where they're trying to scapegoat it into, if you care about the climate change, vote Democrat, you know? You shouldn't have to tell me who to vote for. If everyone was in with it, then why isn't anything being done? What happened to nuclear energy? I mean, there's a whole bunch of shit that's just bullshit that's not happening because of it.
But we already know who's gonna win the election.
We all know.
He probably has way more votes. That's a fact.
Let me get some chests.
Clean air, water are important, but we're not dealing with the apocalyptic
4
scenario
chests.
they keep laying out. And on fake news CNN last night, none of these facts seem to matter.
You fuck. How dare you?
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on us, and even blamed Hurricane Dorian, which is hitting during...
I'm surprised you're not PG-13 on your streams. They're family friendly.
I'm too small to have to do that. If I get bigger, what'll end up happening is I'll have to just...
I don't think YouTube I don't get why they have to. They should make a podcast for kids, so, like
I
specifically
know,
kids.
bro, but instead they're using it to enforce shit that they don't need to be enforcing.
Why are they trying to change people for an app?
What I'm gonna do with these right here, this right here, is I'm gonna cut that,
Yeah.
and it's gonna be like one big window right here, these windows here, and then this door.
Yeah.
So it'll be like a 3-high window.
One of the reasons I love the framing of the Green New Deal is it uses some of the language that we might associate with the way that we met the response of Nazi Germany in World War II.
Just like the Greatest Generation won World War II, and just like the Civil Rights Movement. This is our challenge.
This is the hardest thing we will have done, certainly in my lifetime as a country. This is on par with winning World War II, perhaps even more challenging than that.
Why don't you try governing South Bend, Indiana first, because you're not doing a great job there. Well, more challenging than winning World War II. My father fought 4 years in the Pacific. Millions of people died in World War II. Does Mayor Pete and the others, do they want to tell the Greatest Generation that driving a Prius is tougher than storming the beaches of Normandy? Does he need to relearn the horrors of the Holocaust, just like the squad members that regularly compare, well, a lot of things to Nazi concentration camps? Well, this climate change hysteria is frankly pretty insulting, and so are the Democrats' radical plans to battle this fake crisis. They want to ban, regulate pretty much everything you can think of, and we've got the tape to prove it. Take a look.
Let's talk about offshore drilling for oil. Would you ban it?
Yellow.
Yes, absolutely. Would you ban offshore
Yellow.
Hold up. Bloop, 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 bloop.
Absolutely, yes. I will ban offshore drilling.
What?
So would you ban offshore drilling? Yes. There's no question I'm in favor of banning.
Okay, why are they talking about the Nazis, and that has nothing to do with climate change?
They're talking about offshore drilling now.
I think we should.
Alright, so
No,
what
I'm
we're
talking
gonna
about
do, we're gonna have a furnace there, we're gonna have 6 furnaces. No, 9. No, I'm just gonna have 4 furnaces. Put that there. Put this here. Furnace.
We can rightly mock the proposed bans on my favorite plastic straw and burgers, but the calls to eliminate oil and gas production, okay, that would be a death blow to our economy. Plus, it would be a massive gift to Vladimir Putin. You know, the hostile actor who runs the hostile regime in Russia? You know, the same Russia that Hillary Clinton got her lying dossier from to try and rig the election? Well, his hostile regime depends on one thing, oil and gas. You want to bring Putin to his knees? Outproduce him and get it to our allies. A decrease in American oil production, that would mean Russia would dominate the market. That would strengthen Putin's authoritarian grip in Europe. Is that what the Democrats want? And by the way, in case you're wondering, the price tag of the Democrats' climate change proposal, well, that's totally insane too. Look at these numbers.
We're going to have to spend a lot of federal money in order to deal with the crisis.
$250 billion immediately.
Your climate change plan talks about spending $1.7 trillion.
$2 trillion plan. I've got a $1 trillion plan.
This is basically going to be a bunch of storage under here.
Senator Booker, you recently unveiled a $3 trillion plan to tackle climate change.
$5 trillion. $5 trillion plan. $16 trillion plan.
Whoa. For context, understand the entire federal budget's around $4 trillion a year. Look at you.
Oh, Michael lagged out.
Candidate, they want to add trillions of dollars in spending. 16 trillion, Bernie? That means trillions of dollars in new taxes in an economy that you're destroying. And most of the candidates, they support a variety of other new taxes, income taxes, sales taxes, carbon taxes, wealth taxes. Well, that would dramatically increase, by the way, the carbon tax, the cost of energy for every American. Because remember, corporations don't pay taxes, they pass the cost on to you. That carbon tax, that wouldn't even be enough for Bernie's plan. Add $16 trillion, trillion with a T, in new spending, just on climate programs. And Bernie Sanders also seems to echo the sick, the twisted, the vile philosophy of Planned Parenthood founder Margaret Sanger, with his sick, ugly, repulsive support for worldwide abortions to control populations in poor countries. Is this the new Democratic Party? Take a look.
Educating everyone on the need to curb population growth seems a reasonable campaign to enact. Would you be courageous enough to discuss this issue and make it a key feature of a plan to address climate catastrophe?
Well, Martha, the answer is yes. And the answer has everything to do with the fact that women in the United States of America, by the way, have a right to control their own bodies, especially in poor countries around the world, where women do not necessarily want to have large numbers of babies, and where they can have the opportunity through birth control to control the number of kids they have, something I very, very strongly support.
Is that the new Democratic Party? Is that summed up? Pretty much sum up the night over there, fake news CNN? I think so. Democrats' climate change, it is only a political tool. Even the chief of staff of Ocasio-Cortez recognized and stated publicly, designed to trick you, to give up your liberty and your freedom and a lot of your tax money so Democrats can enact their vision of a socialist utopia. And so people leave New York, New Jersey, Illinois, and California. They'll be leaving America if this is ever implemented. God forbid. 2020, this election is the biggest choice election of our lifetimes. This is about living free or America as we know it dies. And the future of our country, the free world, is at stake. Now, before we get to our guests, let me address one glaring example of fake news media bias. Pretty much every newsroom in America screwed this up and lied to you by accusing the president of lying. Now, the president issued this tweet. Oh, look at that. That's from, I think, August 29th and 30th, proving the president what he said about the earlier models about Hurricane Dorian, that it might hit Alabama is true. But if you watch the media mob, you would think the president was lying, as they always do. Just another absurd example of Trump derangement syndrome. Take a look.
The White House is falsifying weather reports so that it doesn't have to admit the president, who spent the weekend golfing, was not up to date on the storm's forecast.
Donald Trump is not the sharpest Sharpie in the drawer.
This really fits a pattern of the president putting out misleading information.
The initial reaction is to laugh out loud. It's laugh out loud funny. It's so absurd. But the other aspect of it borders on being truly dangerous.
So the Democrats keep looking for an impeachment inquiry to go, this is actually against the law. And this might actually be crumbs for them to say, wait a second, you know?
Well, it's right there. A lot of psychotic jackasses in the media mob. I'm sure we'll get their apology. That'll be forthcoming. Wish I had time to name every name.
Damn, Michael, what happened?
This country through.
As you look, we now have a Durham report. We now have the Inspector General report. I would imagine there's probably going to be indictments at the end of this. When you look at the names of the people, for example, the jury foreperson in Roger Stone's case was prejudiced against. That was not a fair.
Can you believe it? Can you believe it? The hatred that she had for him and for me.
And you?
And she said, "Oh no, I don't know." You know, she acted like she was an innocent. She ran for Congress or something and lost, but she was like pretending to be an innocent. How did she even get into the jury pool? She must have had a little contact. And the judge, who's been brutal, the judge who sentenced Roger, has been brutal. Take a look at what she's done to people.
Same judge in the Manafort case.
Well, take a look at what she did for Hillary-related things, okay? It wasn't brutal there, but look at what she did to people. Just take a look at what she's done. And Roger Stone had a jury foreman for a woman who was a disaster. How that's not declared a mistrial or more than a mistrial is incredible to anybody that sees it. This is a person that hated Roger Stone, hated me, and obviously said wonderful things. Otherwise, she couldn't have gone in.
It looks like he reports to jail, I believe, in 4 days.
Yeah.
Are you thinking about a pardon for any of them?
We're going to see. I don't want to get into
commutation,
that, but I think he was treated very unfairly.
Clearly.
You know, other than he may have been involved very early on, and I've known him for a long time, but I've known him like everybody in Washington knew him. You have a lot of guys in Washington that do. He was not involved in the campaign. Maybe a little bit at the very, very beginning, but he wasn't involved. He wasn't a part of the campaign. But he's a professional. They've destroyed his life. Totally destroyed his life. what they've done to Roger Stone is incredible. And the jury forewoman stands up, and to have at least not give him a new trial is inconceivable. And by the way, she was a dominant person. The juror said she was very dominating in the room. She dominated. He got a tremendously big sentence. You see these guys, they're burning down buildings, they're ripping down statues, they're hurting police. They don't go to jail. Nothing happens to them. They wanted to give him 9 years in jail.
Process crime.
Yeah, if that. And then you have these prosecutors who were Mueller-related. The whole Mueller-related thing. One friend said to me, you have to be the most innocent man in the history of the United States. I had 18 angry Democrat geniuses, all smart as hell. Mueller lost it, but they were all smart as hell. All these guys were after me. They spent 45, 49, 55, I hear all different numbers, $1 million over a period of 2.5 years. And they got nothing on me. I think I am a friend of mine said, you have to be the most perfect person.
They had everybody up. We'll take a break. We'll come back as we continue from Great Green Bay, Wisconsin. Also, the president will be answering your questions as we continue. Stay with us. All right, welcome back. We are in Green Bay, Wisconsin. All right, the audience has some questions for the president. We're going to start from Linda. Hi, Linda, from
Wausau, Wisconsin.
Thank you for being here with us today. Say hello to President Trump.
Wausau windows, right? Windows. You know, I bought a lot of Wausau windows over the years. And you know, it's I shouldn't give them a free commercial, but they did a good job. It's a great window.
They are.
Wisconsin.
Love it up here.
Thank you.
Es un honor, señor presidente. My Cuban background.
Good.
I have a question for you. I appreciate so much what you have done for this country, and I know it's been tough. What do you think is your greatest accomplishment in your eyes?
So a lot of people think it's the fact that we will have, I think before I'm finished this term, we'll have close to 300 judges, federal judges. A lot of people think because that's a record, that's a number that nobody can even believe. And part of it was that President Obama was unable to get judges approved in a large number, about 142 judges. So I took it up, got them approved, and then got a lot approved beyond. So we'll be close to 302 Supreme Court judges, great ones. And so I think a lot of people would say that. I think one of them, though, is our military. We have Space Force, which we've added after 76 years. We've added a new branch of the military. It's a big deal, a very important deal, because space is going to be very important. It already is. I would say the rebuilding of the military and the taking care of our vets. We had a 91% approval rating the other day. The VA. The VA was a disaster. All of my life, I've seen these horror stories. I don't want to jinx it because they'll go and find somebody that's unhappy. You don't see that anymore. And our administrator, our secretary, has done a fantastic job. And we're 91% approval rating with the VA. And we got Veterans Choice approved and Veterans Accountability. That's where you could fire people that do a bad job. You couldn't do it before. Very hard to get. They tried to get it for 50 years. Because of civil service unions, etc., you couldn't, get it. I got it. And the other thing is Veterans Choice, where if they can't see a doctor, we have great doctors in the VA, but if you can't see a doctor, you go out and you get a private doctor. We pay the bill, and you have no idea how great it's been. It's actually you save money, believe it or not, but you have no idea. We save lives, tremendous number of lives. And I would say that's an achievement. But we've done a lot with the largest tax cuts ever, the largest If you look at our regulation cuts, Sean, more than any other administration in history, whether it's 8 years or in one case more than that, we cut regulations, and we still have a lot more we're going to be cutting over the next month and a half, 2 months. So we've done a lot, and we're very proud of it. And we had the best, until this artificial problem, because I call it an artificial problem. We had to turn off our country to save millions of lives, and now we've turned it back on, and it's coming back much.
At a time when most universities look like this, the founders of Walden University saw a chance to rethink the classroom. Their vision would spark a revolution in distance learning and inspire us to pioneer online education. That That's because we've been there at every turn to help students of all backgrounds find their moments to shine. We've provided a launch pad for social change, preparing our students to lead from the heart and the head. The reality is, not every university will change. Not every university can change. Their path is not your future. Their way forward doesn't have to be yours. Wherever today takes you, whatever tomorrow demands of you, you'll be prepared. Because for more than half a century, we've been preparing for you.
This is what it's like wearing regular shoes. No all-around support. And this is what it's like in Skechers' new Arch Fit footwear. It's all the comfort and support you need.
Refill, snacks, hot towel.
It's good to have support. Try Skechers Arch Fit, podiatrist certified arch support.
What the fuck? Fuck you, bitch. Come in my house.
channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Here we go again, Sleepy Joe. What else do I have to say? Pretty much nothing. The man opens his mouth and I make videos about it. You guys already know the drill. This man is not ready for office, and every single time he leaves the basement, he proves that exact statement. He is borderline geriatric. So we got a whole bunch of Joe Biden topics to talk about for this video. We're gonna start off with this whole SCOTUS pick fiasco that's been ravaging the globe lately. I gotta highlight Joe Biden's absolute hypocrisy, which of course isn't surprising considering, frankly, the entire Democrat Party has done a complete 180 since 2016, Joe Biden included, of course. We gotta cover some of the gaffes because, of course, the man's left the basement and we got like 2 or 3 of them. And then we gotta talk about an interesting poll. So like usual, it's another day with Joe Biden out of the basement, and I'm gonna fill you guys in on everything that's happened so far. Now, before we get into any of it, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell to be notified every single time I post a new video, since that's by far the best thing you can do to support the channel. Follow me on Twitter and check out my Subscribe Star. Links are both in the description. Now, with that out of the way, let's roll the tape. Alright, so let's start off with the fun stuff, or maybe the light-hearted stuff. Well, I mean, it depends on what perspective you're looking at this from. Some may say it's pretty sad. And you know what? Maybe I agree with that notion. But regardless of whether or not it's sad, the man is running for the presidency of the United States of America. And regardless of whether or not it's sad, you need to know about it. You need to see exactly what's going on behind the man's noggin. And so, of course, he recently had a speech, and this is what happened.
And perhaps, most cruelly of all, if Donald Trump has his way, the complications from which are well beyond what they should be. It's estimated that 200 million people have died, probably by the time I finish this talk.
So Biden says 200 million people will lose their lives due to the COVID pandemic at the end of the speech. Now, of course, what Biden meant to say was 200,000, considering right now as I'm recording the video, it's at 199 total count. But this isn't just an honest mistake. There is an issue here. Joe Biden cannot get numbers straight. It is a clear sign of his cognitive inability, or some may say his cognitive disability. And if you don't believe me, just look at this.
Out of $1.6 trillion worth, $1.4 trillion. Out of $1.4 $1.4 billion, $740 billion over 10 years. Billions of gallons of gasoline. I mean, billions of I think it's $2.3 billion worth of, $500 billion in savings.
He cannot get the numbers straight. There's something wrong. There is something seriously, seriously wrong. You're talking about the guy who's going to be doing tax reform, the guy who's supposed to be balancing the books, the guy who's supposed to be negotiating trade deals. He can't even get the numbers right. How does that make any sense? Quick answer, it doesn't. But in a certain way, it does make sense because when have Democrats ever really cared about balancing the books anyways? But look, people argue that this is elder abuse. I mean, I wouldn't go that far, but should Joe Biden be pushed out onto the podium? Should he be thrusted into this position? I know he wants to be there. Of course, he's been trying to run for office or trying to run.
You want to know what really makes me enjoy my day? Walking in Skechers' new Arch Fit footwear. Skechers teamed up with podiatrists to create a shoe that provides total foot and arch support for all-day comfort. You're such a drama queen. Get the all-day support you need with Arch Fit shoes from Skechers.
Setting posts without mixing. Whether you are building a fence, setting a mailbox, or even a basketball goal, the best way to make sure your post will stay sturdy and true for years is to set them in Quikrete concrete mix. The quickest and easiest way to set your post is to use Quikrete fast setting concrete. Because there is no mixing, you simply pour it into the hole dry, then add water. When digging your post hole, it is important that the diameter of the hole be 3 times the width of the post. So the hole for a 4-inch wood post should be about 12 inches wide. The depth of your hole should be 1/3 to 1/2 the post height above ground. So a 6-foot tall fence would require a hole depth of at least 2 feet. It is also recommended to add about 6 inches to the hole depth for the addition of gravel. Once you have dug your post hole, add about 6 inches of Quikrete all-purpose gravel into the bottom of the hole. Then compact and level the gravel using a post or 2x4. Set the post into the hole, then use a level to position the post perfectly vertical. Fill the hole with Quikrete fast setting concrete up to 3 to 4 inches below ground level. Next, Pour about a gallon of water into the hole and allow the water to saturate the concrete mix. Fast-setting concrete will set hard in 20 to 40 minutes. Wait about 4 hours to begin constructing your fence or applying heavy weight to your post. Fast-setting concrete can be used for setting wood or metal posts. It can also be mixed with water and poured around a post as in traditional post-setting applications.
Run for the highest office, the presidency, for decades now, basically since like the 1980s, and he's failed every single time, and maybe it's on his bucket list. But man, from an ethical perspective, from the Democrat perspective, what they're doing, is it wrong? The man keeps taking days off. He can barely string 2 events together, let alone campaign days. Like I stated the other day, he can barely string 2 sentences together. And very recently, he was so out of breath that he could barely speak or stand at the podium. Look at the video.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the nation's Constitution Center. I had the great privilege of being a guest leader of this outfit for a year. It's an appropriate place to make the speech I'm about to make.
This guy is struggling. He's potentially in trouble. It may not just be mental or cognitive decline. He may be in decline in a more general sense, and he said many times he's going to be a transitional candidate. The most that he could do is 4 years, and 4 years, if that. The current rate that we're seeing his decline go, who knows how long he's actually be able to last. But let's not harp on that for too long, because of course, you guys have seen it. It's obvious. It's been out in the open for months now. Let's talk about this whole SCOTUS fiasco, and of course, the hypocrisy, frankly, on both sides. I mean, Mitch McConnell is not absolutely clean in terms of his hypocrisy, but at the end of the day, Mitch McConnell is also not the president, and what he did in 2016 doesn't mean that all of a sudden, all of the Democrats are trying to throw out the Constitution and stop the president from getting his pick. But here we go again. Joe Biden coming out and saying the same thing that all of the Democrats have been saying, from Obama to the lowly intern in a local congressional race, that the president should not be given his constitutional right to appoint a SCOTUS pick. And here is the irony. Let me paint the picture for you. Joe, who just gave that speech that we covered earlier in the U.S. Constitutional Center, completely disregarding and disrespecting the Constitution. Listen to what he had to say.
But if I win this election, President Trump's nominee should be withdrawn. And as a new president, I should be the one who nominates Justice Ginsburg's successor.
So what he argued there is that the president, even if he does make his pick, it should be revoked, and him in 2021 should be the only one who could replace Justice Ginsburg. First of all, Joe, don't get ahead of yourself. I know the polls are telling you that you're going to win, but I have a hard time believing that you will. But this just goes to show you exactly where the Democrats are. They're in such a state of perpetual outrage and self-righteous indignation. They are willing to step all over the Constitution, the most sacred document in American history, just to get their way. They want to expand the court. They want to impeach the president to stop him from getting a pick. You even have Michael Moore urging Pelosi to shut down government to stop the pick. Right here, Michael Moore urges Pelosi to shut down government to block GOP from filling Ginsburg's seat. And then you have a literal presidential candidate arguing for a very similar thing. But what these people don't seem to understand is that, I just said people, the people elected the president largely because they wanted him to put strong justices into the Supreme Court who respect the Constitution. And so to have a speech in the Constitutional Center and say what Joe said there should be a very rude awakening for, frankly, every American that loves their country and respects the Constitution. I know I've said Constitution a lot, but it's important. And so Joe has proven himself throughout his political tenure to sell out American interests, disrespect the Constitution, and lack clear transparency to who he is, what he stands for, and what his policies are. And that's the segue to get to the next part. The president has been very on it.
And where down we go, oh, 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 baby, yeah.
Acqua di Joe Profondo, the new intensity, Giorgio Armani.
In the last 3.5 years, the number of county audits behind schedule has skyrocketed 660%. We need to elect somebody with an accounting degree. Vote Mary Ann Claytor for West Virginia State Auditor, and let's make accounting great again.
Make account. Oh my God.
Single name that he is considering to put on that high court, even going as far as naming Tom Cotton as controversial as that may be. Where Joe Biden, in fact, we've seen him how many times just avoid questions, like just recently at that same event.
May God protect our troops. And may God bless Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Thank you so much.
Walks off the stage, but it's not just avoiding questions. Of course, that contrast is important, the fact that the president takes any question and answers honestly pretty much every single time. But not only does Joe avoid taking questions and not give the American people the transparency that they so deserve in seeing who they would be voting for, but he's also on multiple occasions refused to go into his plans or go into what his intentions are because he doesn't want to stir up controversy. And now he's doing the exact same thing with his SCOTUS pick, where he said this.
Anyone put in a list like that under these circumstances will be subject to unrelenting political attacks. Because any nominee I would select would not get a hearing until 2021 at the earliest. She would endure those attacks for months on end without being able to defend herself.
Publicly and officially stating, I'm not going to name my SCOTUS pick because I don't want that person to be scrutinized, essentially. Most likely because he'd pick someone quite far left.